Hello, my name's Alec Steele. Welcome back to the Alec Steele Show. Today is episode number 24, and this is very exciting because I thought, well, you know, it's Christmas next week. How can I give you guys a little bit of a gift? And one of the most requested topics for the live show has been for me to make a pair of tongs. So I'm gonna make a pair of tongs. Pretty simple. I got a piece of 16mm round bar stock in the fire. That's roughly 5/8 round. A little proud of that. Hang on a second, it might not be. Oh well, don't hold me to that. Can't be maths. And I'm going to take this out and we're going to begin forging just the first bit of the tongs. But first of all, some of you might be aware that we've been doing a little fun game here where if you comment on a video in the first 60 seconds, you know, I'm going to go ahead and start picking people and start giving them stuff. And so I thought, for today's episode, when I make this pair of tongs, I'm going to give them to somebody. So Sam, if you could pass me the phone, I'm going to quickly choose somebody to give a gift to. Oakley dokley, oakley dokley, oakley dokley, oakley dokley. Let's see. Da 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 da. I am going to give a gift to. Oh goodness, you guys have inundated me. I'm going to give a gift to Joel Alexander Fletcher Hawkins, who says he finally has his own operational forge. Well, Joel, I'm going to make you a pair of tongs right about now. So you can have your own forge and you can have a pair of tongs. That's really good. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, fantastic. And I'd like to thank you all for commenting so fast and joining in the live stream. I'm going to give it about 20 more seconds, let other people join. The piece of still's really nice and hot. Aside from that, Joel, go to my Facebook page, my Facebook business page, shoot me a message there, and shoot me your details, your address, stuff like that, and I'll get that sent off to you sometime soon. Are we all ready? Are people here, Sam? We all good? You reckon I should start? Why not? I need a drink of water first. Got a runny nose. Alright. Okay, so if you're not familiar with seeing the way Brian Brazil does a pair of tongs, then you're missing out. This is the way I'm going to be doing this pair of tongs. Again, you know, like so much of what I do inspired from Brian Brazil. I've really learned a tremendous amount. You know, a great majority of everything that I do is learned from Brian Brazil. These tongs are one of them, and this is one of the things that I think is a fantastic project. Really great way to set you on your path. That's why I actually included these in the intermediate online course. Super great project, great way to practice the fundamentals of blacksmithing. I really recommend you give it a go. And what you're going to see me do first is you're going to see me make just a tong blank. Just a tong blank. So that's the first end bit of the tongs. And the reason that we do it in one portion only is because we want to be able to isolate the material so that we can get the right structures. Here's the thing with a pair of tongs. Naturally, just like anything, the greater away you are from the fulcrum, the less the yield stresses are, the less the forces are when you're exerting pressure on a pair of tongs. For example, when you're squeezing a pair of tongs, the greater away you are from the fulcrum, the less pressure you need to squeeze it. Therefore, we want a taper coming from our boss area in towards us so that A, the tongs are nice and light, and so that B, there aren't any obstructions in the free pivoting motion of the tongs. That's the aim, that's the plan, that's the idea with the one heat tong blank. So I'm going to go ahead and start. Whoa, almost dropped my piece of steel. I'm going to start that. If you go ahead and switch to that close-up view, this is an important heat. Super essential. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's do some blacksmithing. It's great to have you here on episode 24. So, I'm going to take a little over a cube of material and strike 1, 2, 3 on the near edge of the anvil. Then I go to the far side of the anvil. 1, 2, 3. Again, I'm forging half off the anvil this whole time. And with a pair of tongs like this, every step you take is a left-hand turn until right there. Whoa, I'm slipping around on this. Every step you take is a left-hand turn until you get to the near side of the anvil, where we break it down and create a reverse taper. Then I'm going to come back to the beginning of my tongs, check it back, reduce the material, and then come back in here. Now I want a reverse taper, so I'm going to go ahead and chop my hammer, angling it back towards myself to reduce that material and start getting a reverse taper. And we just take our time, stay nice and relaxed with this, keep moving it. Notice, you know, we're moving it very often. It means we're getting it off the anvil. Hopefully it means that we can have the heat last a very long time. And I'm really trying to be as methodical as possible with my hammer blows so that, you know, we're putting the work in and getting the work done that we want, not putting in extra effort without extra reward. Oakley. I'll go ahead and maybe put a little bit of a taper on there. I'll probably want to do that at some point later on down the line anyway. Got plenty of heat left in the bar to do some kind of final planishing things like this. Lovely. Now this is by no means make it a finished bit of the tong. Plenty more to go on this. But this is a great start, because what this does right here is this means that we do have that reverse taper coming down. Wonderful, that's the start of the tong. That's setting you up for the taper that's going to be going on a little later. Now, next heat, what you're going to see me do is come in over the far edge of the anvil. Use the far edge of my anvil as a very aggressive fuller to very quickly move the material and create a nice, aggressive forwards taper and bring it down. Now, you might be asking yourself, but Alec, a pair of tongs doesn't have a forwards taper. Why might we want to start tapering it in the forwards direction? Well, the reason is that we can be much more aggressive. Sorry, I have a ding in this anvil, so I'm going to hammer out that ding while I speak. So we can be much more aggressive over the far edge of the anvil than we can the near edge of the anvil, where you'll see me go when we go to create the reverse taper. And the reason we can be much more aggressive over the far edge is indeed because it's very easy for us to stand upright and bring our bar 45 degrees or, you know, any variant of that. A little more difficult for us to squat down and hammer in like this. It's all right for us to stand up and hammer in like this. You know, the surfaces are the same technically, near to far, just inverted. So you could be just as aggressive on the near side, but it does mean you've got to put yourself in a somewhat compromised position when you're swinging the hammer, which is something you probably want to go ahead and avoid. And I certainly find it's easier to rough out the material here on the far side of the anvil, creating a forwards taper, reducing the material in that direction, so that then we'll go ahead and then come back to the near side of the anvil, take that reduced material, bring it down to size, bring it down to the structure and cross section we want. I'm going to give it one more little lick there. What are people saying in the comments? How are people doing? We're starting with 16mm round mild steel, 5/8 round mild steel. Keep shooting off the questions.
How many questions? So we haven't heard from the bloke who's won.
We haven't heard from the bloke who's won. Well, shoot. That's not good. Okay, so I'm going to take, I don't know, 3.5 inches of material or so. Come into the far side of the anvil, nice and aggressive with my hammer. You see that far side of the anvil, that far edge of the anvil will sink your material down really nice and fast. So that is just absolutely lovely. We'll work up to that shoulder, but you see at this point, I want to start being a little careful with my blows, because it'd be very easy to create a cold shut in that area, right, where there's that steep taper. The edges on this anvil aren't very tapered, aren't very radius, not to a massive degree. So I'm just gently inching my way up, a little more gently than I might otherwise. Okay, beautiful. I'm down, we're good, we're safe, we don't have a cold shut. I'm now going to come back through, but it's getting a little cold, so I'm going to go ahead and raise my angle up. By raising the angle up, we're exposing a lesser amount of anvil to the workpiece, so we will in fact be more efficient. We're pretty cold, so all I'm going to do in the rest of this heat is demonstrate what we're going to be doing next heat, right? Next heat, I'm going to be coming to the near side of the anvil, right about here, and I'm going to be swinging the hammer initially with the round die, then when I get close to cross section with the flat die, and you're going to see me work all 4 sides, feeding now into the anvil instead of feeding away from the anvil. This, once it's hot, is going to create a reverse taper and help us create the structure in the tongs that we really want to create. Throw your questions at us, guys. Keep throwing your questions at us.
What purpose are these tongs?
For holding stuff. The tongs are for holding stuff. These
Are you going to get more burners?
Sorry? More burners? Probably early February when they'll be up. The worldwide Gamaco burner shortage is currently in the... I dropped my hammer. We are currently in the worldwide Gamaco burner drought. Oakley dokley. Give it a few more ticks there. I'm running that whole forge off one burner right now. My enormous teaching forge. Whole thing off one burner. You were saying, Sam?
What do you think the reckon how?
If it's flat and you can hit stuff on it, it's a good anvil. Okay, so I'm going to come into that near side of the anvil there. And you've got to regulate the amount of material that you put on the anvil to the amount of thickness, to the thickness of material that you're trying to hit. More material on the anvil, the more surface area contact, the less your material is going to move, vice versa. Now, admittedly, eventually, you do have to come back into the far side of the anvil, further reduce the material. I'm going to go at it again, a little more aggressive. Further reduce the material at the far side of the anvil there, right? So that now I can come back in to the near side of the anvil and continue reducing that material. Ugly duggly. So that there's almost about a half of the tongs roughed out, giving a little straighten. And I'm going to start planning out what I'm going to do next heat. Next heat, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to start off right about here. I'm going to take some more material out. Then, once I've made the most of my high temperatures here, the high temperatures which of course are most valuable and most important, I'm then going to come back through all of this and start prettying that up as we get into the lower temperatures.
What's your theory on drawing tapers on a horn or why not on the horn?
If I could taper as fast as this on the horn, I'd be doing it on the horn. That's my theory. Okay, no, I mean obviously that's not giving much detail, and I should give detail. I apologize. So here's the thing. Right here on that edge, firstly, you're surrounded by a flat anvil. That gives you the opportunity for control. You can put that in a split screen if you want, Sam. Has that not been working very well? Oh, there we go. Look at that. How did that... Look at that. That's freaking 1990s music video style. That sweep there. Right, so on your horn, it's a round thing, right? And it's not even a round thing. It's a round thing that's tapered, which means that from one edge to the next edge of the material that you're hitting, you have two different radii. You have two different amounts of surface area contact that you're working on. What that means is where you have your thicker part of the horn and your thinner part of the horn, it's going to want to move more here, and so it's going to end up bending and twisting as you go. That's a problem, and it's one of those things that when people are starting to get used to working on the horn, it takes them a little while, you know, some more than others, of course. It'll take you a little while to get used to that twist and how to compensate for it. Here, you're square, you're flat, you're even, that's good. You've got a flat surface where you can very easily clean up your work as you go, and what you also have is the opportunity for a much smaller radius than you have potential for having on the horn. There's a much smaller radius over that far edge of the anvil, and so we can be much more aggressive if we use that appropriately. For example, you can raise your angle up very high and move a lot of material over that far edge of the anvil. On the horn there, you're not going to make that material sink down just quite as fast. And admittedly, I might not be using the horn the right way. If somebody has a better way of using the horn to move material like this, please let me know. Okay, now I'm going to come back through this. Again, now it's over the near edge of the anvil. I'm not quite striking half on, half off though. I want to control my pressure with each hammer blow a little bit further. Make it a little bit prettier, right? You see how we're getting a pretty clean, flat, clean square, but we're still pretty efficient. We're still keeping a decent degree of heat in the bar for the type of work that we're doing. Now, I'm going to go diagonal. Lovely. Rough out the octagon. Same exact process, half on, half off, near edge of the anvil. Okay, next heat, what am I going to do? Well, next heat I'm going to continue prepping this portion here at the high temperatures. Then I'm going to come in here and finish off that one half of the rain. That means by next heat, I'll have this rain finished off and a pretty decent degree of the next heat, the next rain that's going to be on the other side, pardon me, will be on its way to being finished off. At least the rough of the material is going to be pulled out. What are people saying in the comments, Sam?
How long does a single pair of tongs actually take to make that demo?
I don't know. I don't really ever make them unless I'm teaching. In fact, I can't remember the last time I made a full pair of tongs. It's been a while. It's always been in a class. I'll demonstrate one half, they'll make the other. Or I'll demonstrate one half of a pair of tongs and then they'll make a full pair of tongs. Something like that. Or I'm going to demonstrate the techniques involved so that they can then extrapolate upon there. Well, extrapolate from there. Obviously, you know, they kind of stood there watching and seeing how it goes.
Some guy who asked a question about the horn.
Yeah.
He said, is that the same sort of reason he never sees you wearing it, using a crossbeam?
No. Not the same reason. My reason for not using the horn is not the same reason for me not using a crossbeam. It's just that I have very little occasion to need to do extreme lateral draws on material. I will use a crossbeam when I need to do an extreme lateral draw, but the times that I need to do an extreme lateral draw are very rare. So you see, I couldn't quite get my heat where I needed it, which was back up here. So that's something I have to pay for by hitting a little harder and hitting a few more times. But I can see I'm beginning to cool down at the other end of the bar. So I'm just going to rough that out just a hair more so that when I flip her around, oh, there'll be minimal work to do. At least that's the plan. Now I'm starting to get down to red. That's beautiful planishing temperature. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a 3 strokes with the brush. I don't want to dwell on my brushing. There's no point spending too much time brushing and not getting the work done. And then I'm going to come in up here at the top of that taper and start rounding it off. Where is my position of the hammer in relation to the anvil edge? About 3/4 on the anvil, 1/4 off the edge of the anvil. This makes for a nice semi-aggressive, semi-precise technique for rounding off your material. I can pretty it up on the flat side. Okay. Beautiful. So now I'm pretty toasty at the rest of this portion of the material. Pretty toasty at this portion of the material. So it's going to be a little unpleasant to hold it while I'm working on that other end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just run inside real fast, cool that off in my big quench tub, and then run back, stick that first end in the fire.
Before you go,
yeah.
Talk about Canada.
Sorry?
How many spaces left in Canada?
I haven't looked into it, but we're pretty much full. I'm going to go ahead and say, you know, if you want a space, you're going to want to get on it fast. And if you want a space, for sure, the only ones that are going to have spaces, the only course that's going to have space is going to be the first course, the 11th to the 14th, I think it was. Another thing to mention, which I haven't yet got around to writing an email about to the guys that have signed up, is so I'm not used to having to pay sales tax in this country, and I know this bloody Paul sent me a message the other night saying that I forgot to tell people that tax is on top. I'll send an email apologizing to people about that. Apologies, and I'll obviously understand if that kind of, you know, changes people's mind, but there is a sales tax on top of that. I don't know what it is. I've got to speak to Paul a little more to find out about that. My apologies. But if you want to get on the class, for sure, we're fully booked on those last dates. You're going to want to get yourself signed up for the first dates, or go ahead and hit either, because otherwise you're not going to be able to get yourself on the thing. The right way of phrasing it is I'm not used to having to charge sales tax here rather than having to pay it. I pay a lot of sales tax, but I don't have to charge it to my customers. Okay, so what I'm gonna do now, get that jaw pretty close to where I want it. Come in here, reduce the material behind the boss. Come in here, pretty it up. Nice. Now what I want to go ahead and do is I'm going to punch that hole, or at least see how much of it I can get punched in this one heat. So I'm going to come over here, hold it between my legs, give it a little pin prick. Always lay out your holes with a little pin prick first. Definitely going to need another heat to get through there. A little too much time dilly-dallying. See, I'm just moving my angles around, make sure I'm down there in the middle. Too much time dilly-dallying, can't get that hole in there. Oh, buddy. You got your nose down in that thing, Sam. What are people saying? I've heard of a country called Ukraine, indeed. So I take my tool out every time so I can observe the development of the hole. Now that I'm pretty much down to the bottom, I then flatten it all out. Here's the thing, when you drive a punch into a piece of material, you're going to get a certain degree of suck down, especially when the punch is as proportionally wide as this is to the thickness of the material. You get a lot of suck down, and so to compensate for that, you want to be reducing your material behind the boss so that the boss remains proud. Come in here, hit those diagonals. Man, it feels good to make a pair of tongs. Haven't done these in a while. Okay, so now I'm going to re-establish my little mark here on the underside. Woo! Miss hit. That's the way to impress people on your live show. Give it a little pin prick from the other side, fire in the middle. Once my plug's released, I can go ahead and hit more than once because there's no longer any pressure on the tip of the punch, just the side edges, and that's an abrasive pressure as opposed to a kind of compressive pressure. And that's cool, you know, the punch will take that. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and quickly chisel in the jaw for the punch. For the tong. Why don't I use a slot punch? Because I was able to put that in there in one heat, and I'll be able to drift it to the final size with the rivet itself. So I'm quite happy to do that. If I was on much thicker material, I'd potentially go for a slot punch, especially if I was going for a larger hole. This is just a 10mm 3/8 hole. Very simple to put that in the material, and very fast and effective too. You start using slot punches when you're starting to go for a hole where the diameter of the hole itself is beginning to step very close to the diameter of the bar. That's when you start using a slot punch, so that rather than, you know, trying to move all the material from here all the way out there, you're taking the material over a longer length and pushing it out. How many people are watching, Sam? 180. Outstanding. Well, it's great to have you all here. I think that's got to be pretty damn close to a... Wait, what was the one on the last one? 198? 198. We need to bump this up to 198, guys. Come on. What's going on? So you see, because this is a taper and it's at an angle, I'm actually going to go to the striking anvil in a second to do this. So I'm going to give you some time to sort that out. You just want to pan it around ever so slightly. Okay, so I'm down at the striking anvil here, just because that suits the angle that I have to hold my workpiece at. Oh, a lot better. And now I'm going to find the middle, Give it a little pin prick here on my chisel. And then run it down. Whoop. Outstanding. 201. Got a little cross hatching in there. All-terrain tread. Go ahead and pop her on the top, pop her on the side. Run back to the anvil. Give it the old Scottish prettying up, and now I've got to poke it all the way through the forge. Cut it off, flip her around, and do the other side. What's our time like, Sam? How long are we in?
26.
26 minutes. That's not bad, half a pair of tongs. I'll take that. Like I said, I cannot remember the last time I made a full pair of tongs. It was probably at least a year ago. And I don't know, a full pair of tongs by myself, more than that. So it's exciting to do this, is even while talking and demonstrating, see how I get through this thing. What are people saying, Sam?
Just talking about the leaf springs for swords.
Leaf springs for swords.
Yeah. Really good. Estimated price for building a forge.
Estimated price for building a forge.
I guess they'd be half.
Oh, this particular forge, if we were to count the burners at the price that people are buying them, to, I don't know, maybe call it 500 quid max. Like that's probably not even that. Maybe 300 pounds. Probably more like 350, 400 pounds. But that is a large forge. Very large forge. I can heat 50 pounds of steel in that forge and pretty much melt it. My forge now has a much worse flaw because I did melt enough steel to cover the forge. Hey, are you guys following me on Instagram? You should follow me on Instagram. If you're not following me on Instagram, that's a great place to be. That's where I post, I don't know, some of the behind the scenes stuff that doesn't make it into a vlog, doesn't make it onto the live show. Go do that. That's at Alec Steele Blacksmith. Definitely go follow me on Instagram. You'll appreciate that you did. At least I hope so. I try to take interesting enough photos. I think they are. Hey, I've got a bias though. So I'm now going to run around to this hot cut here on the striking anvil. And I'm going to kind of try and find exactly about how much material I want to take. Ooh, that's probably going to be about right about there. That should make a pretty good sized pair of tongs. Lengthwise, if anything, maybe a little more. Who knows? We'll see. Like I said, it's been a while. So I'll go ahead and hack that piece off on the hot cut hardy. Brazil style hot cut hardy indeed. Give it the old Scottish straighten. Yep, still making those terrible jokes.
We've got a message from Joel.
Ah, hey Joel. He has heard. Oh, maybe that wasn't enough material. We'll see. So while that's trying to gather up its heat, I'm going to go ahead and see if I can make a rivet, because this rivet will probably heat up a little faster. And this is a great opportunity to do that. I need to find my pair of dodgy calipers. See where I left them, just running into the workshop real fast. Dodgy calipers are here. So, with my dodgy calipers, I'm going to measure the bottom of my monkey tool because I always forget. That's about 43, plus 10 is 53, plus a bit, call it 60. It's right about where I want that, if I can recall correctly. And then what I like to do is I like to go ahead and lubricate that monkey tool. Ow, hurting myself there. So I'm going to drop some beeswax in there. Ugly, ugly, ugly. Man, I say the weirdest things. Oh well. So I'm going to take my little piece of steel, run it over here. This won't take a second, but I'm just cutting it off. I'll then run back over that main anvil. I'd thinned down this material a little bit prior. I'm now going back to the main anvil. Thin down the material a little bit prior. That kind of just helps make it a little more of a streamlined process. Or so he says. Man, I did take too much material again. I gotta stop guessing wrong. And you see, if you take too much material, it loves to start bending on you. So I'm now angling my block. See, oh buddy. Okay, I need to take another heat, and that's probably going to be a failure. So I have an extreme bend on the rivet. That's going to need some good heat to fix that. Oh, on that. Yeah, you're going to want to probably stand up there and move it so that it's kind of the frame is centered around. I want to fix that rivet before I touch the other thing. I'm going to lose the rivet in the fire. Ooh, nice job messing up that rivet, Alec. Come on, little rivet. Okay, I'm not going to work on the rivet quite yet. I'm going to take a heat on the tongs. Did I cool that off? Can't remember if I cooled that off. Yeah, I did. Cool. So I'm going to take another heat and do the tong blank. You can go ahead and throw this in picture with the big picture. There we go. Perfect. I want them to be able to see that nice and close. Because this is some important stuff. This one heat tong blank here, this brown Brazil one heat tong blank. At least that's where I picked it up. So come in here, a little more than a cube material. 1, 2, 3, half on, half off the near edge of the anvil. Do not go too far, too fast. Same on the far edge, another cube material on the far edge. Take another left turn, come back to the near edge of the anvil and reduce the material. We want to create a reverse taper from behind that boss area. Very nice, there we go. Now I come back through it all. 2, 3, then here. Now again, we want to reverse taper, so I attack the bulge, there we go. Come in here, attack the bulge, tilting the hammer back over towards myself as I then come back to the near side of the anvil and continue forming the reverse taper. Very nice. Beautiful. Just beautiful. Now my rivet hot. I'm going to go ahead and throw this piece back in the bar and grab my rivet, see if I can fix that, which I'm leaning towards not being able to fix it. We'll see how that goes. Okay, so I'm going to see if I can pull that rivet out of that, hopefully don't. Now because it's what it is, I'm going to cool off the bottom of that. Throw that back in here. And there we go. I think it's pretty damn close to centered, so I'm going to go ahead and keep bringing that down. Quite a nice little flat head on the rivet. Oakley dokley. Sorry? Striking anvils. Oh my goodness, guys. If you wanted a striking anvil, striking anvils are soon going to be able to be purchased. Not the whole thing, obviously, for kind of shipping reasons. But a plate with a whole water jet cut in it. We have steel on its way. Officially. It's now no longer like, maybe we'll do striking anvils, maybe not, you know, no, it's official. We got them, they're on their way. So, start saving up some pennies. Shipping to the US as cheap as chips. What did it come to? $65. Ship a striking anvil block, and that's a 1 to 2 day shipping time. For $65, I will ship you a striking anvil block. Hey, that's the shipping charge. So that's pretty cheap, especially when you consider what, you know, I haven't worked out the final cost of the striking anvils, but they're going to be cheap. They're going to be cheap. So yeah, you'll be getting one hell of a deal, getting one of those striking anvils. So start saving up your pennies. Get yourself a striking anvil. And now I'm going to come back to the near side of the anvil. Now I'm starting to, I guess I got in a little bit of a daydream there at the beginning because I wasn't really attacking it with the vivaciousness and tenacity that I should have. So now I'm going to see if I can heat that up a little bit. Get some more work into that. Oakley dokley. Take another heat. So now I've got my rivet still in the fire, right? Rivet is still in the fire. I'm going to cut off the end piece because for some reason my monkey tool here, though the only time I use this monkey tool is for making a rivet of the exact same size, and it would take me about 5 minutes. Oh my goodness, it would literally take me a minute to make one on the lathe now that I have a lathe. I still have to cut it down every single time I use it, and I'm not even going to have to measure because, well, he says, but at least I'm pretty damn familiar with the rough length that I want one of these to end up. So I'm just going to run it on, run it on the hot cut hardy, try not to kill myself. This hot cut hardy is a little blunt, certainly blunter than I would like. Yeah, you see these tongs, they're getting dangerous, they're not holding it right. Put it back in the fire, get a pair of tongs that aren't going to risk hurting me. They might be a touch better. We'll see. There we go, that is indeed better. Getting good tongs, golly, that's an important thing. If you don't have a good pair of tongs to hold onto your material with, ooh, you're going to be struggling. And you can really hurt yourself big time. Okay, so I see I'll put a little taper on there. I want a little taper on this, because when I drive that in through my hole, I'm actually going to be using the rivet, pardon me, there's a drip. Now obviously this is not how you make the most perfect of fits with your rivet, because your rivet's going to swell in odd ways. But what I do find is a really efficient way of going about it, and it means that you can get your tongs assembled a lot faster. I see that as an overall plus. in the grand scheme of things. I've been burning my material there. My forge had it set a little too oxidizing. Hopefully I don't have to start again on another pair of tongs. Let me adjust that. Go with one hand. I like that easy adjustment. That off a little bit, it's getting a little toasty. What's going on, Sam? What are people saying?
Different steels in Damascus and different metals.
They asking any questions?
Talk about space is not far.
Are you replying to them?
Mostly, as best they can.
No, you cannot forge weld copper to steel. You can, however, use copper to fuse steel to steel. Sorry about that. You can use it to fuse steel to steel. If you were to Google, I don't know, copper fusion welding, maybe something like that, it'll come up. I believe Stephen Lunn here in the UK did some demonstrations about that at one point several years ago. Copper fusion welding. Pretty interesting. I gave it a go once. Left for a pretty strong bomb. I was awfully surprised. Okay, where am I going to go now? You see, I've not been planning out my heats too much, which obviously, you know, leads to a little bit of a lack of preparation. And now, I guess, I'm going to go ahead and start diagonalizing it. Come in here, make at least this portion at least, make it round. I'm going to get more agua, more water. So here at the shop today, it's been an exciting day. We've been working through a Damascus hammer making class, which is very exciting. Had 2 students here, meant to have 3, but he didn't show up, which is a little nerve-wracking. Sent him an email, he hasn't got back to me. I don't know what is going on. But he didn't show up. Whoops, I guess.
I get paid.
But the 2 guys we did have here, a lot of fun, Worked on the power hammer, worked through some kind of basic power hammer stuff. Wow. Pretty much got straight on with the Damascus, actually. You know, being a small class, that was all good. Straight on with the Damascus. They made 2 cool billets, little X-pattern billets. Seemed like they had a lot of fun. We made some beautiful little hammers, forged the beautiful little hammers. Tomorrow's going to be a finishing day. A lot of finishing work involved with Damascus. Oakley dokley. Well, I reckon I need a little more heat in there to achieve what I want to achieve. So yeah, guys, if you're wanting to come to Canada and get yourself on the Canada seminar, you're going to want to go ahead and run to that webpage and get your sign-in done right now. And you're going to want to do it for the first set of dates. And you're also going to want to remember that that price is exclusive as tax. So remember that. I don't know what the tax is there. Again, got to speak more about it. So remember that, and definitely go ahead and...
It's kind of not sold out, let's say.
Well, it's not necessarily, it depends. It's one of those things where it could very easily be sold out. We've got a lot of people applied. Enough to fill it. We just got to make sure that everybody's dates work with the different ones. Because I think we have a surplus for the second date. What you doing, Sam? You're going to show them your knives? Do you want to talk about it for viewers that are watching in the future?
They won't hear you very well.
Well, then you got to yell.
This is the first.
You got to yell in this direction.
This is the first one, mate.
Yell, yell, yell.
Hang on. Backwards and
This is the first knife Sam made. It's supposed to be a bit bigger. Are you sure they can hear you? I don't think so.
And the second knife, the last few days.
This is the second knife Sam made over the last few days.
With some lovely Damascus stick lying back in the bin somewhere.
You thief. I believe palm wood. So tell them, Sam, where would you have liked to improve? What will you do better on the next one? What did you learn?
Take my time, a bit more, try and get things a bit more methodical.
And really what just happened there is Sam just distracted you so that I could have finished drawing out all the reins. Which really is a lie. I just switched these out for a pair that I'd started a little while ago. Of course, that's a joke, I didn't. Nice long reins, it's gonna be a really nice little pair of tongs. Cool off some of that material, just because it's getting toasty. How much time are we at, Sam?
48.
Yeah, why don't you make a Farrier's Damascus hoof knife?
Alec could do a far better job.
Have you noticed my neutral position with my hands? It's this. Oh, he's distracting you guys again. It won't focus, it's on a manual focus, Sam. You're gonna have to manually focus it. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is come in to the jaw and the boss area, start finishing all of that off, again, just like you saw me do on the last one. I'm going to go into the boss area, reduce the material behind it, punch a hole, keep reducing the material behind the boss area, because we want the boss to be the proudest point so that we have free pivoting motion there. Okay, so first, come into the jaw. Hit the anvil. Taper that down ever so slightly, then I'm going to come into the boss area. Taper the boss area, well, behind the boss area at least. Beautiful. Now, come in with my punch. Find the center. Whoa, way off center. Go ahead and move. This is why we hit only once before taking the tool away, so that we have all the time in the world to see how a hole is developing, adjust it, move the hole around, and so we don't have to worry about our tool overheating because it's out of there. It is air cooling it, and that means that we can really focus on the hole that's developing. Okay, now I'm beginning to bomb it out. You see the amount of suck down that's created? We need to fix that. So I come in here with my flat, spread it across that surface, and then I work behind that area there. A little thinner there, got a little carried away when I was doing that near side taper. A little thinner here is what I'm saying than on the other rein. I'm human. Or at least I like to think I am. The amount of hours I've worked this week might contradict that. Da, da. Oakley Dougly. So then I'm going to go ahead and come back in here. Hammer that. Didn't like that. Okay. Come back in up to the front side. Give it the old Irish tap. Flip her over. Come into the middle there. Whoa. She's a little springy since she's not flat on the anvil. Come into the middle. Find the back side. Drive it. Once it's loose, you see, here's the thing, what you'll feel at that point is you'll feel the punch release a little bit as you make that hit. That's where the plug itself shears, right? When that plug shears, oh, you saw it just pop off. There's no resistance to the end of the punch. There's only resistance on the side walls of the punch. That's just an abrasive force that's being exerted there. And so the steel's plenty tough enough to withstand that, and so I'm quite happy to keep driving the punch. My tong jaw has a little twist to it, so I'm going to go ahead and fix that in the vise. Pick up my punch, and set that over there. Move this. Hang up the grinder. Little twist in the jaws is pretty common. It happens to me a lot. Jaws being a little twisted off square in relation to the boss. Not a big deal. I can just run over to the vise. I'll describe what I'm doing. You won't be able to see it. But I'm basically tightening it, holding it horizontal in the vise, tightening against the boss portion there. That means that from here, I can then very easily pop, give it a little straighten, and that's all good. Now with this residual heat, I'm going to come back to the striking anvil since it's a little lower down, and I'm going to be holding this flat on the anvil. Find about my middle. There we go. Hit it with the heel of my chisel. Whoa, buddy. Heel of the chisel right there. Make her a little deep up. There we go. And give her a little cross-hatching. Larvely. Just larvely. I don't know what I'm saying. Beautiful. Set that down there. Come in here. Very nice. Now it's simply a case of cutting her off and then assembling it. Little assembly required. So cut it off. I'm going to go ahead and cool off that end. Just so I'm kind of making it a little easier on myself there. Not picking up the hot stop. You know, when you've got a gas forge, sometimes difficult to poke stuff all the way through. Really easy solution is just to lay it in front of the bricks. If you go ahead and switch to camera 2 real fast, Sam, just show you guys what I'm doing over here. So here's my forge, and there is my tong rein right there, laying laterally to the opening of the forge in front of the brick. That's a pretty easy way to heat stuff up when it doesn't quite fit inside your forge. Just makes it a little bit easier on yourself. I'm going to be coming down to the hot cut here in a few seconds. What are they saying, Sam?
Well, I asked about the tax, but see, so you can't really...
Yeah, I mean, Googling Ontario sales tax probably sort it out.
What's the method of repairing chunks missing from an anvil?
Best method for repairing chunks missing from an anvil. Depends how bad the anvil is. Oftentimes it'll be a little more work. You know what, I'm actually going to find a ruler for this first. I was going to go just by weighing it and picking a balance point, but I don't want to trust that. It depends how messed up your anvil is. Obviously, there's a point at which you really don't want to bother trying to fix the anvil. Just get another one. You want to watch your feed, Sam. We're on the wrong one. Nothing's happening there yet. If your anvil's in really, really, really poor condition, don't bother. You know, if you've got to spend 3 days fixing the thing, what is 3 days worth to you? Naturally, it's probably a hobby, right? It's not going to be worth quite the same as it would be if it was, you know, something that you were trying to do professionally. 620, 310 up. But if you've got to spend 3 days fixing an anvil, and you've got to spend $100 on electrodes and stuff like that, and you've got to get yourself a welder and all of that. You spend $15 on abrasives, if not more. You know, just get yourself, you know, put that money to a nice anvil that you don't have to worry about that, you know. Get yourself a nice, you know, new little small anvil, and you'll be off to a good start. However, if you do really want to repair the edges on an anvil, I'll explain a little bit of what I did here. This is a little bit of a hobo ghetto repair, in the sense that all I did here is I ground out the bad stuff. I then preheated it to 400 degrees Fahrenheit with a torch. Then from there I welded in with normal MIG wire and then ground it down. And it works just fine. It's soft on the edges. When a student misses, they put a dent in the edge. But you know what? It's actually almost a good thing. I'd rather than putting a dent in it than a chip. But certainly if you're using it for yourself, you don't want that, you want it to be hard. So if you're using it for yourself, right? Super easy. What you do is you grind past the bad stuff, right? Oh look, that was right where it balanced. You grind past the bad stuff, you butter her up with a 7018 rod or kind of standard MIG welding wire. From there, you then put a layer or two of hard facing rod on top. Easy peasy lemon squeezy, you got yourself a pretty frickin' secure anvil face. It'll be nice and tidy. What are they saying in the comments, Sam? Sorry? A world tour? Yeah. Great. I'd love to do a world tour. Straighten. Oh yep, they're pretty symmetrical. Now here's something. So this will often happen when you make a pair of tongs. Like I said, it's been a while since I made a pair of tongs, so I neglected to take a step when forging them that often mitigates this, which is hitting in from the end before you thin it down too far. So what you'll see that's happened there, if you go ahead and zoom in on that, is right up here, it's binding. And I shouldn't, I mean, that's silly of me to not remember that. But it's binding right up there, where the radius of the anvil edge just makes it swoop out a little too slow. But that's a pretty simple fix. All I'm going to do is take a farrier's rasp in the vise and really quickly rust that down. So I'm going to be working in the vise for just a few seconds here, Sam. Once I this one doesn't have a handle, but might not be sharp either. Ah, it's not sharp. See if I can find a sharper rasp. Oh, it's all right. There we go. Just doesn't have a handle on it. Is anybody seeing anything here, Sam? Is anybody seeing anything here?
See?
Is there any shots on this, or are you just leaving it? Okay. So I'm essentially taking a farrier's rasp here, and in that shoulder, using the edge of the rasp, because it does have teeth on the edge of the rasp, getting into that shoulder, biting in there with the teeth of the rasp. Now I'm going to flip the rasp up on its side since it's a little longer. Naturally, the rasp only cuts in one direction, so I take it away every time, at least take the pressure off, and then leave cut on the push stroke. I can see how they both fit together. Well, just need a hair off that next one. So I'm going to take a little metric smidge, technical term, metric smidge, off the next one. Same process again, using that thin edge of the file. Get in there, pull it down. Lovely. What's going on, Sam? What are people saying in the YouTube comments?
Twitch.
Sorry?
What you've got on Twitch, so they can donate and things like that.
Well, if you want to donate, you can always... Easy. Go buy an online course. Buy a t-shirt, buy a hammer. Okay? Okie dokie. So we flipped it around, so they now fit together. We're now going to throw a rivet in it. Oh, isn't this riveting, Sam? Oh, just riveting. So, oh, I lost my rivet. No, I didn't. We're all good. Hopefully I cut my rivet to the right size. After all I said about, oh yeah, made so many tongs, I know exactly the right rivet length. It's just my luck to have not, well, it's not luck, it's just my, just the kind of mistake I'd make to not take the right length.
Like that hammer sale.
January 7th, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, alecsteeleblacksmith.com. There will be 25 orders taken. That means 25 people can buy a hammer, or 4 hammers, or 6 hammers. But 25 people, 25 order numbers. You're going to want to move fast. You're going to want to be there 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I assure you, you might be surprised as to how fast it's going to go. I think it's going to go fast. What do you think, Sam? How fast do you reckon it'll go?
2 hours tops.
Oh, 2 hours, you think? That's a little risky though, because like if they showed up at 8:30 a.m., like that could be a quarter of all the space is gone. Who knows? So you're going to want to be there 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
People that say donate to St. Peter's Canada. They can donate to local people.
take a little block that has a hole on it right near the edge, and then I'm going to drive this over that block, since I have a shoulder on the tong, right? Easy. Now I flip it over, I can now go to my Pritchell hole. Now that we're flat on the black side. And you see now, what's happened is we have it sticking all the way through, and I use the rivet itself as a drift, and I find this crazy simple. A crazy simple way of going about it. So now, super easy to rivet this bad boy together. Make sure that's tight. I'm now going to shove that back in the fire. Let that end of the rivet get hot. And that'll work beautifully. I don't know, I think we might stream some hammer making. Striker, you know, working as a Smith and Striker, director striker team. Might make some hammers while the hammer sales are going. Get some of the, get the adrenaline in the air, get people excited, make some hammers, have some fun. 8 AM Eastern Standard Time, 7th of January. Be there, or be square. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do, gently, hoping not to, see that rivet's toppling over to one side there, that ain't good, so I'm going to try and drag it over. Okay, it doesn't want dragging. I'm going to stop hammering there, and I'm going to see what I can do to fix that. I'm now going to run to the vise, and I'm going to grip the sides of the boss. Man, that's embarrassing. I can never do stuff right on the live show. Not that it always goes perfectly otherwise. I make a lot of mistakes. I'm looking that in the vise here. Sorry you can't see it. And then I'm just pulling that rivet over into the other direction. There we go. Oh, buddy. Nope, need to do a little more. Need to do a little more. And give it another grip in the vise there. Ah. I'm going to need a tool to get in there, so I'm going to take a little flat-bottomed punch. That goes. Oh, I don't think I have one. Oh, I do. Little flat-bottomed punch, get in there on the rivet. Hit the top side of that. See if I can bend it. Okay. I think we got it. We might have done a little bit of damage to the rest of the tong, but it's worth it to get a centered rivet. Largely an aesthetic thing, but the aesthetic problems caused by fixing the rivet are minor in comparison and very easy to fix. Just a little flat spot, a little abrasion. So I can take another heat, see if I can fix that rivet. Sorry you couldn't see that, sorry.
What's going on with the cleaver?
Well, the cleaver, not much has changed since you oh, that's why you need to subscribe to my Instagram. You need to go to Instagram at Alec Steele Blacksmith. You'll have seen some of the progress that I've been making. So I'm going to bring it through right now. So I just did the etch on the cleaver. Really exciting patterns come through. I call it the orange duct tape pattern. I'm pretty pleased with that. How about you, Sam? What do you think of the orange duct tape?
And health and safety conscious.
Yes, absolutely. It's high visibility, so that when you're cutting away at somebody's leg, I mean a leg of lamb, you know where your knife is, you know where your cleaver is. Okay, so I got duct tape on the blade right now. Well, I've got tissue paper, then duct tape, because I now need to be working on the scales for the integral bolster, whatchamacallit. So this is a piece of African blackwood, which is beautiful, has almost a purple color to it. And they're going to be going either side of this. The whole thing with this is I'm going to try and make it as good as possible, which takes a long time when you don't know what you're doing, which I do not. I have no clue what I'm doing. The other morning I was in here until 5 o'clock in the morning working on this. I mean, I daren't imagine how many hours I've spent on it, largely because of the fact that I really don't know what I'm doing. In here until 5 o'clock in the morning, all day until 5 o'clock in the morning. And I guess that was 5 o'clock in the morning yesterday. And it really felt like, okay, I'm flying an airplane. blindfolded, and I've never flown an aeroplane before, and there are 700 people on board who are going to die if I don't know how to fly this airplane. Okay, yeah, obviously not quite. There is not quite the danger of life or death, but certainly felt nerve-wracking. You know, certainly felt like I was blindfolded doing this. As you know, every single step you take along the way, you're completely clueless as to what to do next. But I can assure you that the challenge of doing that, oh my goodness, it is fantastic. What a thrill. What a thrill to work at something that you have no clue how to do. I'm very excited by that. Okay, so we got that set. Rivet's set, nice. We now need to open it up. So I'm going to take a heat, making sure not to heat up too much. Just to hit the boss. I might even cool off the reins. And then we want to start working them back and forth. Now, if you can't work them back and forth with your hands, because it's rolling around in your hands, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go to the vise. I'm going to lock the bottom rein in the vise with enough room sticking over the top where I can take the top rein and tilt it back and forth. This is going to be one where you're going to want to be camera for this. I'm going to take that top rein and move it back and forth to start freeing up the jaws. Yeah, you can get it from right there. Start freeing up the jaws and allowing that rivet and the holes themselves to work against each other and abrade each other away and forge each other away, so we get a nice slick bearing surface between the rivet and the actual holes themselves. Okay, so if you go ahead and switch to number 2, Sam. So I lock that in the bottom jaw very simply, and then I'm going to take this little index finger, work back and forth from closed to open, to closed, to open, to closed, to open, to closed, to open, to closed. Whoa, come apart, come out.
What a great price the burners are.
Yeah.
So, I didn't just put the prices up till they're really not a great price.
Oh. Well, I like that people think they're a great price, but you shouldn't tell a businessman that.
Sorry?
But you shouldn't tell a businessman like...
Hey, you're being too cheap. Put your prices up. Okay.
Put your prices up, goddammit. Golly, Alec. Don't even know how to price a burner. Are you still looking at the vise?
Sorry?
Are you still looking at the vise?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm taking my file and I'm just radiusing off that jaw area. Lovely. And now keep working them back and forth with the residual. Now I'm going to take heat to do it. And this should be the last heat, provided all goes well. I'm now going to set the jaws to hold the material that I want them to hold. I'm going to want them to hold pretty much from 6mm, 1/4 inch square and round, all the way up to about 10mm, 3/8 of an inch square and round. Now, the way that you hold both square and round is by making your tongs hold square, because if they can hold square, they're going to be able to hold round just fine. So, I've got this little piece right here. Now, what that is simply a square, and this happens to be made out of spring steel. You can perfectly well use mild steel to do this. That's absolutely appropriate, absolutely fine. I've got my touch mark here, Sam. Thank you. Absolutely fine to use this with mild steel, but since at one point I was making a large amount of these, I made one out of spring steel just simply so it would withstand the pressures of the heats that it gets to. This will get very hot. Top tip, don't pick it up with an ungloved hand. And these top tips come from, that's hard-won experience, I tell you that. Okay, so I'm now going to open this up, take this, throw it inside the jaw, and then close the jaws on it, holding it ever so lightly. And then I'm going to come back here to the far side of the anvil. There we go, you can see it. Far side of the anvil. Hammer, turn it over. Hammer, turn it over. Hammer. Beautiful, my friends. Just stupendous. Lovely. Fab. Now I can give the reins a little squeeze. If they bend equally, we're happy. This one's bending a little more, as it just happens to be minutely thinner. That's all good. That's a very simple fix. All I'm going to do, work them back and forth, come in here over the hardy hole, hit it over the hardy hole. That hardy hole, 2 points of contact will help kind of bend it around. And then I want to have a look at the whole thing and see if it's relatively even and symmetric. Now I can see one particular flaw. which is that this particular rein here is a little bit thicker. I think I got a little more into the swing of things as I moved on to the second half of the tongs. I thinned it down a little bit too much. A little overexcited. Hey ho, it's not the end of the world. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a wire brush. I'm going to make sure they're straight in this direction here. I see I've got a little kink in the tongs right there. Give them a little pop.
What's the lowest age courses in Canada or in the UK?
What's the lowest age for courses in Canada or in the UK? It's one of those things where it's sadly not going to be an age thing. You know, it's difficult to say this age, that age, because there are people of one age that are very different from people of another age. You know, and so it's difficult for me to say. All I can say regarding Canada is you'd have to speak to Paul of Toronto Blacksmith about that. I don't know what his insurance allows for. Here, you know, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. Basically, if you're under the age of 15, it's a case-by-case basis. I got to know who you are, what your skill level is, what your reason for taking the class. But certainly here in the UK, if you're coming and taking a class, you need to be supervised by an adult if you are under the age of 16. Otherwise, the hoteliers will not book you a room. So you need to be over the age of 16 to come alone if you're going to do the whole hotel thing myself. And of course, if you're under the age of 18, I'll book you your own room. So there is a small surcharge to the overall cost because I got to book an extra room. You know, that seems to be a pretty decent and normal thing to do. Yeah, we can go ahead and turn that off. That'd be fantastic. That seems to be a decent and normal thing to do to, you know, get you guys your own room. Because otherwise, people that come take a class is you share a room with another student. And all the students that come here are wonderful people, but I think it's just a matter of etiquette that minors should have their own room. Okie dokie. Now, a little bend in there. Fix that. Brilliant. Fantastic. So what was the name of the gentleman who we gave it to? Joel. Brilliant. Well, Joel, I really hope that you enjoy these tongs. Oh, guess what I forgot, ladies and gentlemen? Oh, good Lord, I almost forgot my vanity sticker. Now that would have been bad.
Joel Fletcher Hawkins. And he's only in Peterborough.
He's in Peterborough, bloody hell.
I'll drop them off next week. On my way back to Mum and Dad's. Hand delivered.
Don't make promises you can't keep. Yeah, you can come pick him up, Joel.
Yeah, we're not posting them. You can have them, but we're not posting them.
Hey, maybe he'd prefer that. Come see the workshop. I hear people say the workshop's a lot smaller in person.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, actually, having said that, I haven't heard that since we made all the upgrades and made it all fancy and pretty. So maybe all the fanciness and the prettiness made it a little better. I've got to say personally, like tidying the workshop, it feels like there's twice the space in this workshop. There's nothing like a good little tidy up in your workshop to make it $1 million bucks. Sorry?
You know what's even better?
What?
Is when you don't do it.
When I don't do it? Well, I was assisted. Okay, give it a little wire brush, and those tongs are done. You can go ahead and hit to number 2. See, I'm going to go ahead and ta-da! Little pair of tongs for Joel. Suitable at holding 6mm to 10mm, round or square. Nice and light. I like my tongs nice and light, so I can use them with one hand very easily. You know, the tongs are a nuisance. We don't like using tongs. We want them to be strong, hence the nice neat tapers coming down here. We want them to be light, and we want them, of course, to have a nice secure grip. And that's what making those little V's and serrations in there does. That means that when we do go ahead and pick something up with them, yeah, it's going to be good. It's going to be safe, and that's important. What's really important in the blacksmith workshop is you have a safe hold on your piece. There's nothing I like less than seeing people working material without a safe hold. So bear that in mind, guys. I actually make tongs in one of my online courses, Intermediate Blacksmithing. So if you wanna get on that, you know, it goes through a whole range of techniques in a little more condensed format, and certainly a little more focused on the education than the general banter and hanging around. And that's at beginblacksmithing.com, and you can even get 20% off using coupon code LIVE20. Ooh. Apart from that, I'd love to see you in Canada. So, you know, be sure that if you're going to want to sign up, you're going to want to sign up right about now to the earlier course, the 11th to the 14th of February. It'd be fantastic to see you there. And of course, please do remember that that price is exclusive of sales tax. I'll need to be writing a wonderful apology to the guys that have signed up, put their name in the hat already. Oh, wonderful. Writing apology is just my favorite thing to do in the world. Making mistakes. It's fun, right, Sam? Aside from that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you very much for watching the video. Please do remember to join the 60-second club by heading to my channel and turning on notifications so that when I upload a video, you can go ahead and run to the video in that first minute. Leave a comment. You're going to be eligible to win something. Joel won a pair of tongs today. Well done, Joel. You got in. You're in the 60-second club. Hell yeah. That's fantastic. I'm going to be giving away some other stuff. I'll probably end up giving a hammer away next week. I think I might. I think I might give a hammer away next week. So that's very exciting, so make sure you join the 60-second club, and I'd like to thank you very, very much for watching. I look forward to seeing you on the next episode, which is going to be a lot of fun. Have a fantastic, fantastic evening. It's been a pleasure, a thrill, and an honor. I will see you soon. Thank you, Sam, for all your help.
We're going.
Bye-bye.